A naval flight officer is a commissioned officer in the United States Navy or United States Marine Corps who specializes in airborne weapons and sensor systems. NFOs are not pilots per se, but they may perform many co-pilot functions, depending on the type of aircraft. Until 1966, their duties were performed by both commissioned officer and senior enlisted naval aviation observers. In 1966, enlisted personnel were removed from naval aviation observer duties but continued to serve in enlisted aircrew roles, while NAO officers received the newly established NFO designation, and the NFO insignia was introduced. NFOs in the U.S. Navy all begin their careers as unrestricted line officers, eligible for command at sea and ashore in the various naval aviation aircraft type model series communities. They are also eligible for promotion to senior flag rank positions, including command of aircraft carrier strike groups, expeditionary strike groups, joint task forces, numbered fleets, naval component commands and unified combatant commands. A small number of U.S. Navy NFOs have later opted for a lateral transfer to the restricted line as aeronautical engineering duty officers, while continuing to retain their NFO designation and active flight status. Such officers are typically graduates of the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School and/or the U.S. Naval Postgraduate School with advanced academic degrees in aerospace engineering or similar disciplines. AEDO NFOs are eligible to command test and evaluation squadrons, naval air test centers, naval air warfare centers, and hold major program management responsibilities within the Naval Air Systems Command. Similarly, Marine Corps NFOs are also considered eligible for command at sea and ashore within marine aviation, and are also eligible to hold senior general officer positions, such as command of marine aircraft wings, joint task forces, marine expeditionary forces, Marine Corps component commands and unified combatant commands. The counterpart to the NFO in the United States Air Force is the Combat Systems Officer, encompassing the previous roles of Navigator, Weapons Systems Officer and Electronic Warfare Officer. Although NFOs in the Navy's E-2 Hawkeye aircraft perform functions similar to the USAF Air Battle Manager in the E-3 Sentry AWACS aircraft, their NFO training track is more closely aligned with that of USAF Combat Systems Officers. The United States Coast Guard had a short-lived NFO community in the 1980s and 1990s when it temporarily operated E-2C Hawkeye aircraft on loan from the Navy. Following a fatal mishap with one of these aircraft at the former naval station Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico, the Coast Guard returned the remaining E-2Cs to the Navy and disestablished its NFO program. Training. Overview. Training for NFOs starts out the same as for naval aviators. Both students go through introductory flight screening and aviation pre-flight indoctrination together before splitting off into the respective primary training squadrons. SNFOs train under the undergraduate military flight officer program at Training Wing 6 at NAS Pensacola, alongside foreign students from allied navies and air forces. All students begin primary training at VT-10, eventually moving on to advanced training at VT-86 or VT-4. Upon graduation from the respective advanced squadron, students receive their Wings of Gold and are designated naval flight officers. After winging, students conduct follow-on training at the respective fleet replacement squadron. NFO training squadrons introductory flight screening. All SNFOs and SNAs start their aviation training with introductory flight screening. IFS consists of two phases: ground school and flight training. The ground school portion portion lasts about 2 weeks and culminates with the student completing the FAA private pilot exam. Afterwards, every student enrolls in one of several civilian flight schools located near NAS Pensacola. Students complete approximately 14 hours of flight training in a single-engine aircraft, including a solo flight. This is normally waived for students entering training with a private pilot license. Aviation prior flight indoctrination. SNFOs will train with Navy, Marine Corps, and Coast Guard SNAs along with NATO and Allied students in the SNA and SNFO tracks, and, periodically, with student naval flight surgeons. Aviation prior flight indoctrination consists of academic instruction, hands-on interaction in aviation physiology, water survival, and land survival skills. The academic topics taught in API are of the following: aerodynamics, aircraft engines and systems, weather, air navigation, flight rules and regulations. After the academic phase, students will complete aerospace physiology, egress training, water survival training, land survival training. After completing API, all SNFOs report to VT-10 under Training Wing 6 to begin Primary 1 training. All training in VT-10 is done in the Beechcraft T-6 ATEX in 2 and consists of 3 phases: contact phase, instrument phase, visual navigation phase. After graduating from Primary 1, SNFOs will select between maritime land-based aviation or tailhook carrier aviation. Students selected for land-based platforms will continue on to the Advanced Maritime Command and Control curriculum at VT4. Those that select carrier aviation will continue to Primary 2 training and remain at VT-10. Primary 2 training also is done through VT-10. It is a much shorter syllabus and consists of 2 phases: instrument phase, formation phase. After graduating from Primary 2, SNFOs will select E-2C-D Hawkeye strike jet aircraft. E-2C-D Hawkeye selectees will continue on to the Advanced Maritime Command and Control curriculum at VT4, while jet selectees will continue to intermediate training and remain at VT10. Intermediate SNFOs stay in VT10 and continue to fly in the T6 ATEX and 2. Training consists of 4 phases: single ship instrument phase, section instrument phase, tactical formation phase, section visual navigation phase, advanced maritime command and control. After primary, students who have selected E2SO land-based maritime aviation check into VT4 for advanced maritime command and control training. The MC2 program was developed to allow SNFOs to receive advanced platform-specific training while still at NAS Pensacola, and to receive the wings before progressing to the respective fleet replacement squadron for training in their ultimate operational combat aircraft. All MC2 training is conducted in the Multi-Crew Simulator, a new simulator system that allows students to train independently, as a single-ship crew, or as a multi-ship mission. MC2 training has 2 phases, Core and Strand. Core SNFOs begin MC2 training in the Core syllabus. These classes include a combination of SNFOs who are E2C-D selectees and land-based maritime selectees. Training in this phase builds upon the instrument training from primary and includes operational flight planning, instruments and navigation, communications and navigation systems, sensor and link operations, fleet operations. Upon completion of core training, SNFOs who progress to MC2 training from Primary 1 will select their fleet platform. Their choices are E6B Mercury, P3C Orion, EP3E Ares II, and P8A Poseidon. When platform selection is complete, all SNFOs remain at VT4 for strand training. Strand training is platform-specific training via the MCS, allowing SNFOs to begin learning the responsibilities on the fleet aircraft. The development of this program relieves the FRSs from teaching SNFOs the basics of naval aviation and to focus more on advanced fleet tactics, thus providing the fleet with mission-capable NFOs. Upon completion of strand training, students receive their wings of gold and are aeronautically designated as naval flight officers. SNFOs progress through one or two of 4 strands, depending on what platform they select: E2C, E2D, Maritime Patrol and Reconnaissance, P3C, EP3E, and P8A selectees, E6B. Common Navigation, a prerequisite strand for MPR and E6 strands. The E2 strand consists of airborne early warning, air intercept control. The Common Navigation strand consists of publications and charts, overwater navigation and communication procedures, navigation logs. The MPR strand consists of surface search and littoral surveillance, electronic warfare and acoustic operations, maritime patrol and reconnaissance. The E6 strand consists of communications and operations, advanced strike. SNFOs report to VT-86 and fly in the T-45C Goshawk. Training consists of 5 phases: contact phase, strike phase, close air support phase, basic fighter maneuver phase, all-weather intercepts phase. After graduating from advanced strike training, Navy SNFOs will select EA-18G Growler, FA-18F Super Hornet. Marine SNFOs will select EA-6B Prowler, FA-18D Hornet. Naval Aviator versus Naval Flight Officer. Naval flight officers operate some of the advanced systems on board most multi-crew naval aircraft, and some may also act as the overall tactical mission commanders of single or multiple aircraft assets during a given mission. NFOs are not formally trained to pilot the aircraft, although they do train in some dual-control aircraft and are given the opportunity to practice basic airmanship techniques. Some current and recently retired naval aircraft with side-by-side seating are also authorized to operate under dual-piloted weather minimums with 1 pilot and 1 NFO. However, in the unlikely event that the pilot of a single-piloted naval aircraft becomes incapacitated, a crew would likely eject a bailout, if possible, as NFOs are not normally qualified to land the aircraft, especially in the carrier-based shipboard environment. NFOs serve as weapon systems officers, electronic warfare officers, electronic countermeasures officers, tactical coordinators, bombardiers, and navigators. They can serve as aircraft mission commanders, although in accordance with the OPN Navy INSD 3710 series of instructions, the pilot in command, regardless of rank, is always responsible for the safe piloting of the aircraft. Many NFOs achieve flight section lead, division lead, package lead, mission lead and mission commander qualification, even when the pilot of the aircraft does not have that designation. Often, a senior NFO is paired with a junior pilot. NFO astronauts have also flown aboard the Space Shuttle and the International Space Station as mission specialists and wear NFO astronaut wings. Like the Naval Aviator counterparts, NFOs in both the Navy and Marine Corps have commanded aviation squadrons, carrier air wings, shore-based functional air wings and air groups, marine aircraft aircraft groups, air facilities, air stations, aircraft carriers, amphibious assault ships, carrier strike groups, expeditionary strike groups, marine aircraft wings, marine expeditionary forces, numbered fleets, and component commands of unified combatant commands. 3 NFOs have reached 4-star rank. One is a Marine Corps General, having served as the Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, and the other 2 as Navy Admirals, one having served as Vice Chief of Naval Operations before commanding U.S. Fleet Forces Commander NAMP, U.S. Atlantic Fleet, U.S. Pacific Command and U.S. Central Command, and the other currently commanding U.S. Pacific Command, having previously commanded U.S. Pacific Fleet. Another former NFO who retrained and qualified as a naval aviator also achieved 4-star rank as a Marine Corps General, commanded U.S. Strategic Command and later served as Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Notable NFOs. As a captain, Vice Admiral Richard Dunleavy was the first NFO to command an aircraft carrier, the US Coral Sea. He previously flew the A-3 Sky Warrior, A-5 Vigilante, RA-5C Vigilante and A-6 Intruder. Later in his career, he was promoted to Rear Admiral and Vice Admiral, and was the first NFO to hold the since disestablished position of Deputy Chief of Naval Operations for Air Warfare. He retired in 1993. Admiral William Fallon, an NFO who flew in the RA-5C Vigilante and the A-6 Intruder, was the first NFO to achieve 4-star rank. In 2006, he was appointed by President George W. Bush to lead U.S. Central Command. He had previously commanded U.S. Pacific Command and U.S. Fleet Forces Command, as well as serving as Vice Chief of Naval Operations, all as a 4-star admiral prior to his USCENTCOM assignment, and as a Vice Admiral was the first NFO to command a numbered fleet, the U.S. Second Fleet. He retired in 2008. Captain Dale Gardner was the first NFO to qualify and fly as a NASA Mission Specialist astronaut aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger on mission SDS-8. He previously flew the F-14 Tomcat. He retired in 1990. Rear Admiral Benjamin Thurman Hacker was the first NFO flag officer, having been selected in 1980. He previously flew to the P-2 Neptune and P-3 Orion. He retired in 1988. Admiral Harry B. Harris, Jr. is the commander, U.S. Pacific Command. He was the first NFO from the land-based Maritime Patrol Aviation community to command a numbered fleet, the U.S. 6th Fleet, and U.S. Pacific Fleet. He is the first member of the land-based Maritime Patrol Aviation community, pilot or NFO, to promote to 4-star rank. He previously flew to the P-3C Orion. Vice Admiral David C. Nichols was the Deputy Coalition Air Forces Component Commander during Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was the first NFO to command the Naval Strike and Air Warfare Center, the second NFO to command a numbered fleet, the U.S. 5th Fleet, and was later Deputy Commander of U.S. Central Command. He previously flew the A-6 Intruder. He retired in 2007. General William L. Nyland, USMC, was the first Marine Corps NFO to achieve 4-star rank as Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps. As a Lieutenant General, he was also the first NFO to serve as Deputy Commandant for Aviation. He previously flew the F-4 Phantom II and the F-A-18 Hornet. He retired in 2005. Lieutenant General Terry G. Roebling, USMC, was the first Marine Corps NFO to command United States Marine Corps Forces Pacific following an assignment as the Deputy Commandant for Aviation. He previously flew the F-4 Phantom II and the F-A-18 Hornet. He retired in 2014. Vice Admiral Nora W. Tyson, Deputy Commander of U.S. Fleet Forces Command, was the first female NFO to command a warship, the amphibious assault ship Usbatan, and the first female naval officer to command an aircraft carrier strike group Group 2 aboard the US George H. W. Bush. She previously flew to the land-based DC-130Q Hercules and the E-6 Mercury TACAMO aircraft. Vice Admiral David J. Venler was Program Executive Officer for the F-35 Lightning II until his retirement in 2013. He was a F-14 Tomcat Radar Intercept Officer in VF-41, embarked in US Nimitz, and earned the Distinguished Flying Cross for action during the Gulf of Sidra incident in 1981. General James E. Cartwright, USMC, was initially qualified as a Marine Corps NFO in the F-4 Phantom II before attending pilot training as a captain and being redesignated as a naval aviator, subsequently flying as a pilot in the F-4, the OA-4 Skyhawk and the F-A-18 Hornet. He was the 8th Vice Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He previously served as the Commander, U.S. Strategic Command, from September 1, 2004 to August 10, 2007, and as Acting Commander, U.S. Strategic Command from July 9, 2004 to September 1, 2004. He assumed the vice chairmanship on August 31, 2007 and retired in September 2011. Vice Admiral Walter E. Ted Carter Jr. became the 62nd Superintendent at the U.S. Naval Academy on July 23, 2014. He graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1981, was designated a Naval Flight Officer in 1982, and graduated from the Navy Fighter Weapons School, Top Gun, in 1985. Carter's career as an aviator includes extensive time at sea, deploying around the globe in the F-4 Phantom II and the F-14 Tomcat. He has landed on 19 different aircraft carriers, to include all 10 of the Nimitz-class carriers. Carter flew 125 combat missions in support of joint operations in Bosnia, Kosovo, Kuwait, Iraq and Afghanistan. He accumulated 6,150 flight hours in F-4, F-14, and F-18 aircraft during his career and safely completed 2,016 carrier-arrested landings, the record among all active and retired U.S. Naval Aviation designators. The fleet. Eligible fleet platforms for NFOs are currently as follows: E-2C-D Hawkeye, FA-18F Super Hornet, FA-18D Hornet, EA-6B Prowler, EA-18G Growler, P-3C Orion, EP-3E Ares II, P-8A Poseidon, E-6B Mercury. In the EA-6B Prowler, NFOs are designated as electronic countermeasures officers and may also be mission commanders. In the EA-18G Growler, NFOs are designated as electronic warfare officers and may also be mission commanders. In the E-2C Hawkeye and E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, NFOs are initially as designated radar officers, then upgrade to air control officers and finally to Combat Information Center officers and CICO mission commanders. In the E-6B Mercury, NFOs are designated as airborne communications officers and may also be mission commanders. In the EP-3E Ares, NFOs are initially designated as navigators and eventually upgrade to electronic warfare officer, signals evaluator and EWOSEVAL mission commander. in the FA-18F Super Hornet and FA-18D Hornet. The NFO position is known as the Weapons Systems Officer and may also be Mission Commander qualified. In the P-3C Orion and P-8A Poseidon, the NFO is initially designated as a navigator, communicator and eventually upgrades to Tactical Coordinator TACCO and then TACCO Mission Commander. NFOs also serve as instructors, mission commanders in current versions of the T-39 Saberliner and USAF D-1A Hawk. A single USN or USMC NFO is assigned to the United States Navy Flight Demonstration Squadron, the Blue Angels, as Blue Angel No. 8, the event's coordinator. This is an operational flying billet for this officer, and he or she flies the twin-seat FA-18D Blue Angel 7 aircraft with the team's advance pilot narrator. They function as the advance liaison at all airshow sites, and the event's coordinator provides backup support to the narrator during all aerial demonstrations. In all, the specific roles filled by an NFO can vary greatly depending on the type of aircraft to which an NFO is assigned. Past aircraft NFOs also flew in these retired aircraft, including as Mission Commander, EA-1F Skyrider serving as Electronic Warfare Officer, Electronic Countermeasures Operator, A-3 Sky Warrior serving as Bombardier Navigator, Electronic Countermeasures Officer, Navigator, Electronic Warfare Officers, and EWO Signals Evaluator, A-4 Skyhawk as students in the TA-4J, as TOPGUN adversary instructors in the TA-4F and TA-4J, as forward air controllers in the OA-4M, and as electronic warfare officers in the EA-4F, A-5 and RA-5C vigilante serving as bombardier navigator in the EA-5N reconnaissance attack navigator in the RA-5C, A-6 intruder serving as bombardier navigator, EA-6A Prowler serving as Electronic Countermeasures Officer, EA-7L Corsair II as Electronic Countermeasures Officer, West Virginia II, West Virginia III and EC-121 Warning Star as Navigator and Electronic Warfare Officer, EC-130Q Hercules TACAMO aircraft serving as Navigator and Airborne Communications Officer, ES-3A Shadow serving as Electronic Warfare Officer and Co-Pilot Electronic Warfare Officer, F-10 Skynight as Electronic Warfare Officer, F-4 Phantom II serving as Radar Intercept Officer, RF-4B Phantom II serving as Reconnaissance Systems Officer, F-14 Tomcat serving as Radar Intercept Officer, LC-130 Hercules serving as Navigator, C-130 Hercules serving as Navigator, OV-10 Bronco serving as Aerial Observer and Forward Air Controller, SP-2E H Neptune serving as Tactical Coordinator and Navigator, SP-5B Marilyn serving as Tactical Coordinator and Navigator, RP-3A and RP-3D Orion serving as Ocean Project Coordinator and Navigator, S-3 Viking serving as Tactical Coordinator and Co-Pilot Tactical Coordinator, WP-3A Orion serving as Navigator, P-3A, P-3B and P-3B TACNAV MOD Orion serving as Tactical Coordinator and Navigator. NFOs have also served as instructors, mission commanders in since-retired training aircraft such as the UC-45 Expediter, T-29 Flying Classroom, several variants of the T-39 Saberliner, the TC-4C Academe, T-47A Citation II and the USAF D-43A Bobcat. Popular culture. One of key characters in the popular film Top Gun was LTJG Nick Goose Bradshaw, played by Anthony Edwards, an F-14 radar intercept officer teamed with his pilot LT Pete Maverick Mitchell, played by Tom Cruise. Several others were LTJG Ron, Slider, Kerner, Rio to LT Tom, Iceman, Kazansky, LT Sam, Merlin, Niels, LT Bill, Cougar, Cortels Rio, and LTJG Leonard, Wolfman, Wolf, LT Rick, Hollywood, Nevins Rio. In the film Flight of the Intruder, Willem Dafoe played LCDR Virgil Tiger Cole, who served as an A-6BN with his pilot, LTJ Cool Hand Grafton, played by Brad Johnson. In the film Behind Enemy Lines, Owen Wilson played LT Chris Burnett, a weapons systems officer in an F/A-18F.